on the 20th, it'll be 2 months since I competed. And so another thing that I was worried about that did happen was I got down to like 6% body fat, and I was pretty shredded. It could have been more. The hardest part was I only trained to be a bodybuilder for 40 days.
Yeah.
Luckily enough, I had an extremely good coach, Ben Iverson. He's an IFBB pro here in Des Moines. And he laid everything out from food to workouts, supplements. Everything was laid out for me. All I had to do was follow his protocol, and he got me in 40 days. I basically went from 11.3%. Now, this is on the in-body test.
Yeah.
They're not perfect, but they're something to go off of. And I've used it the whole time I've been working out. So, I started out at 32% body fat and 200 and whatever. I was probably 260 something at that time. I wish I would have gotten a in-body test when I was 282, because I bet I was above 30% for sure,
Yeah.
But anyway, so I had a really great coach. He got me right where I needed to be, but the diet was miserable because I had so far to go in so little time.
Yep.
The hardest part for me was being a power lifter. I'm all about the numbers. And so when I saw my bench, deadlift, and squat going down, it affected me mentally, right?
Yeah.
The only thing that made me get through that was every day that I woke up, I looked pretty decent in the mirror. Better than the day before, at least.
Yeah. You sent me pics, and I was always like, dang, you're shredded.
Yeah, well, and the crazy thing is I think if I would have had another month or two, I think I would have been really dialed.
Yeah.
But with that being said, now I have Ben as a coach, and I've kind of been lackadaisical the last couple months, just kind of eating. I'm not bad, but I'm not eating clean.
Yeah.
I had pizza yesterday at like 10 a.m. I mean, that just sounded good. So I heated up a barbecue chicken pizza. Yeah. 300 calories for a quarter of the pizza too. So, which is not horrible. And then 12 grams of protein. I still look at that stuff. I'm not being a complete idiot and going to the store and buying the whole candy aisle.
Yeah.
But I have been eating a lot of stuff that I would not have eaten when I was cutting, which is, pastas and any kind of carbs, really. Actually, that was really hard. Have you ever tried to not eat any carbs at all?
Yep.
It's almost impossible. Almost impossible. It was very difficult for me, especially since in powerlifting, I was eating about 3 pounds of beef and 3 cups of rice a day, plus snacks in between and protein shakes. So my calories were really high. My carbs were really high, but I don't regret how I did that, because everything I did in powerlifting got my body built to be decent at bodybuilding. One thing that I've noticed is everybody's different, obviously. So one thing that I noticed after talking to the judges at the bodybuilding show is a lot of that has to do with how your body is built.
Yep.
And it's not all about striations. And of course, they're looking at that stuff. They're looking how lean you got. They're looking at how big you are. But a lot of it is shape. We're all shaped completely different.
Yeah.
And I just literally got lucky and picked my parents correctly to have a decent shape.
Yeah.
When I'm thin, thinner, whatever.
Yeah.
Leaner, I guess, is probably the best term.
No, you're so right about that too. Because mom and my dad, they both did bodybuilding for a bit too. And my mom was really good at it. And my dad, he did okay, but he says that same thing. He said he just doesn't feel like he was built, like as far as shape wise for bodybuilding, like she was.
And one thing that they pointed out too was my core. So I have not done a single ab workout since I started working out. Never have, but I have a great set of abs. And it's literally from how I tighten my core to deadlift 600 pounds, you know? So, I have not done any core work whatsoever. And, you know, that's probably something I need to work into, is probably doing some more of that, just make it more defined. But I would say your dad probably had the same issue that I had. One of the things they pointed out is my core is really big from, you know, tightening up to lift heavy weight. It's pretty crazy how much breathing affects how much you can lift, and how you tighten your core to get an extra couple pounds. You know, I mean, when you're lifting 675-pound deadlift, like every pound counts, you know? So being able to brace properly, that's huge. But it really just comes down to consistency, repetition, bracing properly. Yeah, just all the little things help you get to your goals, I guess. Once you see yourself with low body fat, and you can see your body's potential, it's really hard to not keep that.
Agreed.
So, do I want to stay single digit body fat year round? No. But I want to stay fit, you know?
Yeah.
And just, you know, I guess the way I've been thinking about it lately is the more weight that I gain, the more I have to cut before November. So that's why I've kind of been keeping an eye on my calorie intake and stuff. Have I been in a surplus? Obviously. I've gained 12 pounds in a month and a half, 2 months. But it's not a crazy, you know, that's nothing crazy. I literally lost 12 pounds in 3 days. So was it the most healthy way? No, it wasn't. But bodybuilding is not healthy. And I don't care what anybody says. Bodybuilding is not healthy whatsoever. No. There is obese people on this side, and there is undereaters / bodybuilders on this side. And you have to find what's healthy in the middle, which, you know, I watch a lot of Greg Doucette. I love his message. His message is to stay at 15% and main gain, which is basically recomp. I did a recomp from 282 to 209 was my lowest body weight. Before, you know, I started gaining again. But yeah, man, I just think 15%, and, you know, keep an eye on what you're eating. Eat healthy. It's not that difficult. No one's getting fat eating a watermelon. No one's, you know, gaining weight being a obese person eating spinach, you know? Yeah. And it's all so good for you, and it tastes good. So, yeah. Then one thing that I've learned, actually, this might go back into one of your questions about, I forget what the question was, but anyway, one thing that I taught myself is how to cook foods that are healthy, that are at least 80% of the quality of chicken Alfredo. You know, I've learned how to make those things with much lower calories. Yep. And that's huge.
It is.
Yeah. So calories in versus calories out, man, as long as you're expending more calories than you're taking in, you will be in a calorie deficit, and you will lose weight. So I don't know. I'm really thinking about getting into coaching for weight loss. I don't want to coach for powerlifting. I do not want to coach for bodybuilding. I will give them a workout routine, but I do not. I want to teach people who are obese, like I was, how in 2 years' time, and that sounds like forever, 2 years, right? Well, it took you 20 years to get fat. What's 2 years?
No, exactly, yeah.
Take 2 years, do what's best for your family and yourself mainly.
Yeah.
And lose weight before you die. You're going to die of a heart attack. Yeah. Why? Because fried chicken is better than grilled? Forget it. I mean, it's stupid little changes like that. When we go to restaurants, now one thing that I've completely gotten away from is fast food. I will go to Chipotle though. I love that place. And we'll never get rid of Chipotle. And if you get a bowl, it's actually not horrible as long as
Yeah.
you don't like get super extra sour cream or something
Of course.
crazy, right? And one thing that I've taught myself to do is like I love sour cream and cheese, but I only do one
Mhm.
instead of both. There's whatever, a couple hundred calories
Yep.
in a dollop of sour cream. You know what I mean? But
Mhm.
those 200 calories at the end of the day, that might be where my surplus went
Agreed.
instead of maintaining or in a deficit. So I really just try to keep those things in mind. But
Yeah. People don't realize it's small decisions over a long period of time that make the difference.
right, and I think that's like Ozempics and all these drugs that they're coming out
Mhm.
with now. I think that is for the people that don't want to take the time.
It's true. Everybody, we want everything fast, right? Like that's
Correct.
how we're programmed right now. And people don't realize it's long term and it's consistency. And you can do almost anything that you can accomplish almost anything you want with that, you know?
Yeah. Think about, 20 years ago or whatever when they had internet dial up, dial
Hmm.
tone or whatever.
Yeah.
Our parents are the most patient humans on the planet because if you think for 2 seconds, I'm going to wait 10 minutes for the internet to pull up, you're
Yeah.
insane. I wouldn't do it.
Yeah.
I wouldn't do it. Matter of fact, when my phone runs slow, I'm frustrated.
Yeah.
When I can't get it to pull up something, I'm pissed.
Yeah.
And it's like,
Yeah,
wow,
when
we're
we were
so
younger,
spoiled.
right? We could sit through 5 minutes of commercials, but now if our phone buffers, we get upset about it.
Yeah, yeah.
What's that all
Or
about?
you're watching a YouTube ad or
Oh, the
something.
YouTube ad, yeah,
Yeah,
that drives people crazy. It's like 15 seconds, right?
yeah. You just cannot wait until that skip button pops up.
Yeah, we get programmed, but I think that's at a detriment to us. I think being able to slow down,
Yeah.
I think is a big key, and yeah, with anything, yeah, it's long term. And
Hmm.
then, because I mean, I've said this before, is like I'm not training for anything, of course. So everything that I'm doing is I'm trying to make healthy habits and processes that can last. Like, am I going to be able to keep up what I'm doing now for 20 or 30 years? Yeah, right. Now,
Yeah.
could I keep 6% body fat up for 15 to 20 years? No. So I'm not going
You'd
to do
be
it.
miserable.
Exactly. So I'm not going to do it. Now, would I for a competition or some specific thing? Absolutely. But I
Yeah.
think that's the thing is I don't think people realize, yeah, to your point, right? You can't walk around at 6% body fat all the time. And people who do probably aren't really happy
No,
otherwise,
no.
right?
Actually, they did a study, and I can't remember. I heard this on Andrew Huberman podcast. But most people that go to the gym are dealing with something.
Uh-huh.
But isn't everybody in the world dealing with something?
Of course.
Those 2 hours a day, those are my hours.
Yep.
And that is where I find my peace for life struggles.
Exactly.
Some of my greatest days in the gym, I didn't want to be there, but I was so mad about something that was going on in my personal life. I'll walk in and hit a PR.
Yep.
You know, I mean, yeah, I think the gym is a great place. And if you don't like lifting weights, go for a walk.
Exactly.
I get the same, um, what's the word I'm looking for? Uh, I get the same like pleasure
Yep.
out of going for a long walk as I do hitting a bench PR.
Yep.
It's the same thing for me.
Yeah.
And, I think we need to be more active. A lot of people that don't go to the gym, if you ask them, well, why can't you go to the gym? Or you want to go to the gym with? I just don't have the time. That's BS because I used to be that guy.
Uh-huh.
I was that guy for years. Well,
Uh-huh.
why don't you go to the gym anymore? I don't have time. I got a business to run. I have 9 employees. I got shit to take care of.
Yep.
Well, um, that's all nonsense because if it meant something to you, if your health meant something to you, you would make the time.
Yep.
It's 2 hours. It's really not that much time. And think about the stuff that you could do in less time. Or I don't have time, but you see that same person on their cell phone, Facebooking or
Uh-huh.
Instagramming or
Yeah.
Snapchatting or Twittering or TikToking.
Yep.
I mean, it's like there's so much social media out there anymore. It almost disgusts me.
Mm-hmm.
because it's such a time suck,
It is.
which is exactly why I don't have it anymore.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have time. Well, I had time until I wasted 2.5 hours scrolling, and I thought it was like 10 minutes.
Yep.
Where did the time go? Well, it went to Instagram,
Mm-hmm.
you know?
Yeah. It's priorities, right?
Yeah,
So we have time. It depends on what you want to prioritize. The thing that sucks, though, is it sometimes takes people having like a really big health scare before they actually go to the gym or
sure.
something big happen. And I was like that. I mean, I didn't work out, and I'm an active person. I mean, I still was active, but man, I just quit the gym for like 6 years, just focused on other things and thinking like, oh, I don't really need it. I feel pretty good mentally. And then it took, divorce to get me back in the gym. And then I'm like, why was I not working out in the first place?
Yeah.
It's crazy. But,
Mm-hmm.
and you mentioned something earlier is walking versus working out, right? And you can still get benefit from it. And why people should be active, right, is because we also have emotional responses like, frustration, anger, stress, anxiety. Those are all emotions that need movement,
Sure.
right? So if we're not moving, we're just sitting there, we're going to continue to be anxious, stressed, frustrated, angry.
Mm-hmm.
So going to the gym, running, walking, whatever, it could be just walking, and
Yeah.
it's benefit.
Well, and it definitely, to feed off of that, I feel like what you said um, with the emotions
Mm-hmm.
and not dealing with them, and your body needs to be in movement.
Yeah,
Well, if you're not moving, what are you doing? You're
exactly.
running those same emotions over and over and over. You're waiting for that one person to text you. You're
Mm-hmm.
or whatever the case
Yeah,
is.
yeah.
But if your mind is busy and you're doing something, you're not hyper focused on what doesn't matter.
Mm-hmm.
What is that emotion coming from? Okay, well, me and my wife had a argument,
Mm-hmm.
whatever. A 10, 20, even 5 minute walk, that distance to calm myself, and
Mm-hmm.
I'll walk up to the cemetery and watch the birds.
Yep.
I mean, I agree with that 100%.
Yep.
If you are focused on the negative, that's where your brain will stay. If you make yourself get up and go,
Mm-hmm.
then you're focused on something good.
Yep.
Yeah, I agree with that
Yep.
a lot.